You're looking at me like you've got a problem or something. Acting up here don't really mean anything unless you're going to fight me here now.
I don't think that Jake would have enough time, seeing as he's already undersized. He's not a real heavyweight, and this is Anthony fucking Joshua we're talking about.
Take a punch, really. If he takes a big punch from Jake Paul, if he gets hurt in any way by Jake Paul, if he doesn't absolutely ice Jake Paul within a few rounds of this 8-round scheduled bout, well then it really affects his credibility.
Tension rose at the press conference when Anthony Joshua stepped up to Jake Paul after feeling disrespected. The heavyweight champion showed clear anger as he voiced his frustration over Paul and his actions.
It don't matter, like, people we're going to fight now.
The heated press conference was only the start of the talk around Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. Experts stepped in to study the risks and results of the possible fight. Legendary trainer Barry McGuigan gave strong criticism and pointed out the real fear many trained fighters would feel facing someone like Jake Paul. After spending decades with top heavy hitters, McGuigan notes that one clean punch can completely shift the flow of a fight, and this shows how dangerous this matchup could become.
Some people are saying, you know, AJ's grabbing the bag. There's nothing wrong with that, because anybody else, if they got offered that kind of money, they would do it. So, yep. And some people are suggesting he might damage his legacy. Where do you sit with the decision of him taking that fight? And it's a professional 8-round fight as well.
Yes, it's a highly dangerous fight for Jake Paul. I don't know what he's doing, unless they have done some sort of caveat or some sort of agreement that he says he's going to go easy on him, or he's not going to go flat out. But you know, I've been tossing this up and down in my mind and trying to figure how, and under God, when he had agreed to fight someone like Tank Davis, who is, you know, several divisions below him, that's more like what Jake Paul does. And then he goes from there to fighting Anthony Joshua. I mean, just look at what happened to Francis Ngannou, who's a big, athletic, tough guy and had gone 12 rounds with Tyson Fury and given him a real ding-dong. And then he gets absolutely obliterated in a round and a half against Joshua. That shows you, despite the fact that he's been knocked out since by Daniel Dubois, who could knock out anybody, by the way, in any weight division or in any era of the heavyweight division. He's such a powerful guy, he could knock anybody out if he hits them properly. But you know, it just seems utter madness. And
Wade, host of the Wade Concept podcast, says that Jake Paul's hidden plan for the Anthony Joshua fight has now been revealed. He shares that Paul has been sparring with several heavyweights to match Joshua's size, height, and skill. These sessions help Jake deal with real heavyweight power while improving his timing and game plan. By training with fighters who copy Joshua's style, Paul is getting ready for the specific challenges he will face in the ring.
Any Joshua fight, if you're Jake Paul, who hasn't fought someone in the top, realistically, the top 50, I know Tommy Fury is ranked in the top 50, but anyone that is a top 50 fighter, even in your weight class, let alone a top 10, top 5 heavyweight in Anthony Joshua, who was a 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. Can you get prepared for a guy like that if you brought in, let's just say, a deity, freaking Zeus, Hercules, whoever, to prepare you? Could you do it? I don't think that Jake would have enough time, seeing as he's already undersized. He's not a real heavyweight, and this is Anthony fucking Joshua we're talking about. But I will say there were rumors going around that Jake was not taking this fight as seriously as he needed to. That Jake was dilly-dallying, flying to go see F1 in Miami after his press conference, and then going to see his girl all the way in the Netherlands if she's trying to qualify for, I think, the Olympics or something else. There was this post from his girlfriend. I don't know if, again, this was in the Netherlands or where it was at, or maybe this is an old picture, but Jake flying around the world when he has a fight in about 4 weeks is probably not the greatest look, and it doesn't seem to make it look like he's taking it as serious as he needs to, locked away in the gyms of Puerto Rico. Now, again, that could have been a different picture. That could have been something else, but that's pretty shocking to see. With that being said, I want to push back on that because I do think Jake is taking this as seriously as he absolutely needs to, because this is not only the toughest fight of his career, it's the most dangerous to the longevity of his career, to his health and well-being. And so to do something like that, you need to bring in the best help possible to get ready. We already heard that Jake Paul was preparing for Anthony Joshua by sparring the guy that Anthony Joshua was about to fight in Cassius Chaney. This gentleman right here, who was 24-3 from B More, aka the DMV, and apparently is a top 100 heavyweight, even though it doesn't say he's actually a top 100 heavyweight, but that was what he was being marketed as.
Spencer Oliver, a former pro boxer and analyst, looks at the upcoming Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul matchup with a different view. Speaking on a panel of experts, Oliver says this fight is more than a normal contest and holds meaning for the sport. He compares it to the time of Muhammad Ali, noting that Ali often took unusual fights that caught public interest and reached people outside regular boxing fans. Oliver believes that if Joshua chooses to face Jake Paul, he steps into a moment similar to Ali where entertainment and sport meet. This matchup could bring fresh viewers to boxing, reaching people who do not usually watch heavyweight fights, while also testing Joshua's focus in a non-traditional situation. The fight also marks a cultural shift in boxing, linking longtime fans with a new digital audience. Oliver's link to Alice Unique Fights shows how big events can grow attention and draw global interest. By taking this challenge, Joshua connects with a wider group, including younger fans who mainly follow Jake Paul through social media. This crossover can raise the sport's profile and open more chances for revenue and sponsorship. Analysts say the cultural effect could be as important as the fight itself, making it a major moment in the ongoing change of professional boxing.
Ongoing evolution of professional boxing.
Anthony Joshua goes in, pops him a few times in the face, walks out of 150 million quid. No one will remember the fact he fought Jake Paul. They'll remember the fact he knocked Klitschko out in Wembley in 2017.
Totally agree with that.
So I'm kind of, whilst I don't like it, and I don't like the way that Jake Paul gravitates to these brilliant athletes and like a moth sucks the life out of them because he gets the benefit of association, because I think they deserve all the association. But he is a and there is opportunity there, isn't there?
Listen, commercially, of course it works because it'll be huge and there'll be a load of money on the table. And for Anthony Joshua, it's like sort of, he's going to get rewarded very well with no risk, minimal risk, no risk at all. He's going to go in there and he may then put all this stuff to bed with Jake Paul and calling out all these different champions, etc., etc. So, of course it works. And when you're talking about, the credibility that Joshua's going to get, he's not going to get none now, but are people going to remember that? Of course they're not. Like, when he goes on to do what he does, didn't Muhammad Ali have some sort of strange fight in the middle of his career? Didn't he box? Yeah, he did. He boxed some non-boxing guy and whatnot. Like, people don't remember that. That's what I'm saying. Look, us as boxers, we don't remember stuff like that.
It was replicated in Rocky.
Veteran boxing analyst Gareth Davies shares strong worries about the safety of this matchup. He points to the large weight gap and the clear difference in experience, saying that this pushes the limits of what is safe inside a pro ring. Davies notes that a full fight could be risky, especially if Joshua lands clean, powerful shots early. To him, the idea of a social media figure facing an established heavyweight may look exciting, but the real physical danger makes the fight hard to justify. Experts like Davies stress that officials and promoters must look closely at all safety steps, because one wrong decision in a bout like this could bring serious harm to both fighters.
As I am with you, there is a danger in this fight. The odds are Joshua's 1-12, obviously. Jake Paul is 6-1. Yeah, to win this fight in a 2-horse race, in which this is a guy who lost to Tommy Fury, Tyson Fury's brother, in an 8-round fight, who, for me, I wrote that it would damage his legacy a week ago. It will damage his legacy for several reasons. If the Deontay Wilder fight never emerges, which it looks like it isn't, I've been calling for that fight for ages. If those two got in a ring together, it's still a massive fight. It's a dangerous fight to sanction, in my view. Sets the wrong precedent. It is 10-ounce gloves. It is a boxing match. It's not an exhibition. This isn't a 58-year-old Mike Tyson. This is one of the most dangerous finishers in the world, who is probably 5 levels above Jake Paul and a weight division above him. I think it's irresponsible to let those two in a ring together in a proper boxing match. That's my view. It doesn't damage his bank balance, but if he earns $70 million for this, are we...
Boxing analysts Angelo and Josh give a detailed look at the matchup from a technical angle. Judging both fighters by experience, skill, and natural ability, they say that Jake Paul, though brave, is not on the level of top heavyweights like Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder. Joshua and Wilder belong to a rare group of fighters whose timing, precision, and power can change a fight in one moment. Angelo and Josh explain that these strengths come from years of hard training and natural physical gifts that smaller or less experienced fighters cannot match. They point out that courage alone is not the same as skill, and while Paul's confidence stands out, it cannot replace the deep preparation and instinct that real heavyweights carry into the ring.
I just don't think that he could compete at the highest level, and I don't think he'd beat the top 5, top 6 guys. But that in that weight class is where he'd be at, like say 180, 188 or 189, somewhere around there is where he'd probably compete. There's not a lot of talent there though, so he might be pretty good in those weight classes. Him competing in the heavyweight division against like Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua or anybody else, no, he gets annihilated. I'm very surprised he signed this fight.
I was shocked he signed this fight. I texted my buddy Bo because Bo follows boxing really well, and I texted him. I was like, dude, we might see a death. And he said the same thing. He's like, I cannot believe he agreed to that fight. But the numbers. The numbers that are, nobody knows the true payouts. They're saying it's around $200 million that they're splitting evenly. So they're getting about $100 million each. He said that it was $267 million. So I don't know who you believe or don't believe. Or it could be they're splitting 200 and the 67 delta, they had to pay DAZN. Because Anthony Joshua has a contract with DAZN, and this fight's going to be on Netflix. DAZN.
It's DAZN.
So they, which makes how the hell?
Please stop saying DAZN, okay?
DAZN.
That's like Saint Benoit, okay?
Where's the O in DAZN?
It's DAZN.
Well, there's no O or no E at the end. But so they basically had to buy Anthony Joshua his permission.
Henry, a boxing analyst, says the risks in this fight do not fall on one side only. While many people talk about the danger Jake Paul faces when entering the ring with a proven champion, the analyst explains that Anthony Joshua also deals with real risk. Even a small mistake in timing or focus could give Paul a chance, and that chance could hurt Joshua's image even if he still wins. For a fighter at Joshua's level, any result that is not a clean, perfect win may look harmful instead of positive. The breakdown shows that this fight is not a simple showcase for the champion, and both fighters hold major stakes in reputation, public view, and long-term legacy.
Creates immense risk for Joshua is because even if Joshua wins this fight, it has to be perfect. There cannot be a moment of hesitation from Anthony Joshua. He can't look mentally shot. He can't take a punch, really. If he takes a big punch from Jake Paul, if he gets hurt in any way by Jake Paul, if he doesn't absolutely ice Jake Paul within a few rounds of this 8-round scheduled bout, well then it really affects his credibility. All the things that have ever been said about him, he's a hype job, he's been coddled. He didn't really want to fight Deontay Wilder when they were both in their prime. He's just a big bodybuilder, as Tyson Fury loves to put it. Anyone who's ever doubted him will have absolute ability to do so. And so the fact that this is actually a sanctioned fight, it tells me that Anthony Joshua cannot be going in there or will not go in there and try to carry Jake Paul. Otherwise, it might as well just be an exhibition. If he does go in there and carry Jake Paul, my fear for him is that most people will not be aware that that's what he's doing. Reputationally, it would just cause serious damage. And like I say, I think the only way he comes out of this unscathed, reputationally, is by going in there and securing a clean knockout. Anthony Joshua can't do anything to boost how people view him as a boxer in this fight. All it can do is damage him unless he's punch perfect. He's fighting someone who realistically has nothing to lose and absolutely everything to gain. And that in itself can be dangerous, it can be risky. And given that Jake Paul has achieved so little, given that Anthony Joshua wants to remain relevant and credible, so it seems, because he has a couple of potentially big fights left, especially against Tyson Fury, why is he doing this? He doesn't want to jeopardize that, surely. Well, I can tell you exactly how I think he has rationalized this in his mind. The first thing is that he's going to get paid an absolute shed load of money. Around 50 million is what we're hearing. I've heard 50 million pounds, 50 million USD, but whatever happens, it's a significant amount of cash. Possibly will be one of his highest ever career paydays, possibly similar to what he'd make for a Tyson Fury fight. But for what? Like 1% of the risk? I don't know. I don't know how to put it in numerical.
Promoter Eddie Hearn talks about the strategic and financial side of the fight, explaining why the offer for Anthony Joshua is hard to turn down. Hearn points out that Joshua has already reached nearly every goal in the heavyweight division. At this point in his career, the big payday makes sense, offering much more money than usual fights. Hearn describes the choice as a smart business move, showing that in boxing, strategy and money often go hand in hand. For Joshua, the fight is less about need and more about using his status to earn more while staying in the spotlight, making the matchup a mix of sport entertainment and financial planning.
Yesterday by the ring by Mike Coppinger, that one's in the works and looking likely for December. What can you tell?
Yeah, not yet. I mean, there has been conversations, obviously. I think it comes down to how true, you know, they are. Jake Paul is that he actually wants to fight. I mean, he's a madman if he wants to fight. But for some reason, and you know, he thinks he can beat AJ. And I have to be honest, like, we were going to have a run out in December over 8 rounds against a bloke you've never heard of. And we may end up having a run out against Jake Paul for a career high payday. I don't see how we can turn it down.
When I asked you about it a couple of days ago, you said that at that time you never really got into the financials. Have those been discussed now? Have you discussed the financial element?
Yeah, there has been some conversations around that, and it is, I mean, it's a huge amount of money. And I think AJ would be mad if he didn't do it, and I think he will do it if Jake Paul is genuine. We may wake up tomorrow with these people and they've announced another fight. Like, honestly, anything could happen. So I still can't get my head around the fact that this guy wants to challenge AJ. Listen, respect to him if it's true, but we shall see.
To end on that note, I spoke to Alfie Sharman earlier. He said that himself or DAZN have had no conversations about AJ potentially taking that fight. Obviously, AJ is exclusive to DAZN. What's the situation with regards to that? Because I know
apparently the fight's done. Obviously, it's not done because, you know, those conversations have to take place. I'm very confident that I can have some positive conversations with DAZN. Obviously, we'll be on a clock, but it's a 50-50.
Last one from me. I saw Chris McKenna tweeted that Anthony Joshua currently doesn't have a British Boxing Board of Control licence. Obviously, it's not unusual for someone who isn't fighting currently, he's inactive, to let it run out. But he would have to apply for one to face Jake Paul again, and then they'd have to approve a fight. Do you think that'd be a...
Former world champion David Haye highlights how unpredictable boxing can be. He warns that even though Joshua is the favorite, no fight outcome is ever certain once the bell rings. Haye stresses that underestimating any opponent regardless of their experience can lead to surprises. While noting that Jake Paul faces a tough challenge, he reminds that all professional fighters must respect anyone stepping into the ring. This unpredictability makes the fight tense, keeping both the audience and the fighters alert and focused throughout the match.
It was only a couple of months ago that we were told it was really close, and then it was Jake and Tank, and now that's off for other reasons. Your initial reaction to the fact that December Miami might be on?
Yeah, jumping from Gervonta Davis all the way up to Anthony Joshua seems absurd. It doesn't seem like it's a reality.
Seems very Jake Paul.
It seems, but you know, sometimes these crazy things. Who would have ever thought Francis Ngannou would get a shot against Tyson Fury? When we first started talking about it, it's like, that's never going to happen. And when it did, we saw Tyson Fury have a very, very tough night, get knocked down and scrape through on points. Anything's possible in boxing. I think the chances of Jake Paul beating Anthony Joshua, I don't know, he's got a very, very low chance. I can't see any way that Jake Paul can win a boxing match with 10, 12-ounce gloves on with Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, you know, world champion, silver medalist, Olympic gold medalist, 2-time heavyweight champion. He's a top 10, top 5 in some people's arguments, heavyweight, and he hasn't gone that far over the hill. He's not Mike Tyson, nearly 60 years old. I can't see it happening, but if it can happen and AJ wants it, then obviously it's going to be a massive, massive payday as well as a massive spectacle. It'll be an absolute crush box office numbers, and unfortunately for Jake, that will be potentially his last fight in boxing.
That's all for today's video. Stay tuned for the next one.